isipokuwa wewe mwenyewe. Basi sisi kwa niaba yenu na kwa niaba wana Kenya wote, ningetaka kutoa shukrani kwa kamati ya National AIDS Committee ambayo imepanga mpango huu na wamepanga mpango kama huu katika kila mkoa katika nchi hii.
Well, in my hospital, and this is the infectious disease hospital, which is a part of the Kenyatta National Hospital, which is the biggest, the national hospital. We mainly deal with tuberculosis. And as you know, tuberculosis is one of the opportunistic infections that has come up that is associated with HIV. And indeed, about 50 to 60% of our patients who come with TB have got the HIV infection. In our society, I think the main mode of transmission is through heterosexual contact.
Well, in Africa, WHO survey shows that it is 50-50, 50%, 50% women, men. Well, in Africa itself, you cannot just say that here in Kenya or here in Cote d'Ivoire or here in Mali or in Cameroon, it is that. But anyway, studies have shown, for instance, in Zambia, for instance, that men are the risk group, and especially men who are at least at the high civil servant, scale. That means the top level young men, age between 25 and 40.
Well, we tried to keep that information a little secret because at the counseling center, a lot of people know each other. But I would say that less than a third of them, of my clients, are HIV positive.
This is a risk factor in that you circumcise one boy with that knife, and his blood is then directly passed on to the next boy, because you're unlikely to clean the knife the way it should be cleaned in order to get rid of the virus.
Yeah, I understand the concern of many medical practitioners about our traditions, in the sense that when in some societies like in Zambia and even in Kenya, in Luo society, if a man dies, his brother has to take over the wife as wife and husband. We are proud of these traditions. But again, how we modern people are trying to give the message to our parents in the villages who do not really associate this kind of traditional practices to the AIDS spread. How do we communicate?
Well, I've had personal experience whereby both parents were positive, but their children, having been born many years ago, were not affected. So indeed, I think AIDS can be considered as a family disease, particularly where in certain of our communities there is polygamy. So you might find that the husband with all his many wives is infected, and the children. And also there are some customs, like you get, if an elder brother passes away, his younger brother takes over his wives, so that if the elder brother was HIV positive, passed it on to his wives, then the wives pass it on to his brother, and it can actually wipe out the whole family.
I found I was HIV infected, not initially through being tested, the blood being screened, but through developing very many infections that were very new to me, and that kind of told me that there was something very wrong with my health. And from that time, that was about 1988, from that time I became curious, and I had to visit doctors to see what was wrong with my health, until finally the doctor suggested I should go for the screen, the HIV screen. And finally when I did it, it confirmed my fear that I was truly infected by this HIV. Of course, during the whole period when I was wondering what was happening with my health, I was undergoing very difficult periods of fear, depression, and feeling lonely, and just fearing that perhaps the worst could be that this is actually the infection that was causing this. I was suspecting this kind of thing, and I was very scared.
Say you have AIDS and it's too bad. It's kind of funny on my case, because maybe when I got the virus, I was 19 years. And I didn't move 2 steps to get it. I got from somebody, respected, somebody I trusted, somebody I never even dreamt that he could be even having an STD, leave alone AIDS. So that's how I got it. Yeah, but it was not the question of having 2 or 3 boyfriends. It was actually, that was my second man in life. He passed away in 1987.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of the disease.
Yeah.
Okay.
In June 1989, I had a skin infection called the herpes zoster. So I went to the doctor complaining of the infection, and the doctor suspected that I could be having the HIV. So he told me that my blood got to be screened, and when it was screened, it was positive. The first 3 months was really hell to me, because I was depressed, I was confused, I was isolated myself, and I had so many questions, and there was nobody to answer. And I never trusted anybody, so I couldn't talk my problem with anybody. But later, when I came to meet other people who are themselves living with AIDS or HIV positive, they educated me, encouraged me, peer counseled me, and when I looked at them, I said, there's still hope. You see, as we all know, is that everybody thinks that he or she can never have AIDS. So people are very ignorant, and you don't even care to know anything about it. So the moment you are told that you have it, just think that, oh my God, you are dying. And the shame, isolation, and what is the public going to think and going to do about me? And you just see yourself worthless. So you say that instead of waiting for this, AIDS death, let me commit suicide. People will be thinking that I committed suicide rather than dying of AIDS. Because, for instance, my case, when I was told, that was the first thing that came to my mind. Really, I said that I can't stand it. I can't stand my mother knowing that I'm having it, or anybody. And I can't imagine me of all the other people, because I thought that, maybe I was reading an upright life. I was not a prostitute in any way. And so I couldn't understand why or how I got it. And at that time, I didn't even care. What I cared is just, to finish myself and to end the whole thing.
It was very bad, and I was all alone. I just kept quiet, and I just wanted to die. I wanted to wait and just die. I care very much. It worries me very much that my child might die very soon, and I might die also. But I don't fear dying. I fear for my child. I wish he could live.
Has your child been tested?
No, I don't want to test him.
Why don't you want to test him?
Because I don't want to know. If I know, what will I do? I won't do anything.
Actually, living with somebody who has the virus, it needs one to be very well educated or very well informed about the modes of transmission, and to be quite informed that you cannot get the virus through normal life, like using the same utensils, shaking hands, sitting in the same or how you sit, and sharing things like the toilet. So you have to be very well informed on those factors, so that you can have no fear and also take the precautions where necessary. We tested for the first time last year in September, and I did the last test. I've been tested 3 times, and the last one I did in March this year.
And all of them?
All of them has turned out to be negative.
If you are in a group and the people knows that you are HIV positive or you are a PWA, it depends, because maybe what group that is.
Shame, which is a situation in your own life vis-a-vis your community, vis-a-vis your friend. This is a focus group, so there is no saying he has to say something. It's a sharing. So we would like to share more so that your defenses may break down. So anybody ready to start how he or she is feeling about shame?
My wife she did not just find that I was HIV positive. I had to have her counseled. I had to have her get the right information, and then I had to have her know that I was HIV infected, and it was also important that we know that her status. What was her status? Was she HIV infected or not? So when this one was determined, she didn't take it as the shock was not as much as I underwent when I was suspecting and all this kind of thing, but definitely she was also very sad, and she has sort of managed now to accept the reality of living with this virus. I didn't know that I was HIV positive, such that I could take the precaution. But as soon as I knew, I took the precaution. Knowledge society is a reaction of people who are HIV infected. Their life of living with the virus are reflected in the objective of the organizations, and one of the main objectives is counseling. And basically this is to make members lead a positive life and accept the reality of living with this virus. It's one of the main objectives. We have other objectives such as seeking for subsidized cost of essential drugs, which are very necessary for anybody infected with HIV, and taking care of addressing the issue of orphans, which again is something that is characteristic of HIV infection, and also fighting the social stigma by public education and information, as well as trying to promote a positive attitude towards the HIV-infected person by the members of the public.
Well, it was 1 year ago, whereby I was stranded on what to do and who to talk to, because I really needed somebody who understands me and I wouldn't be scared of. So when I met Joe Morioki, I was just too happy. And then we started meeting more people, and then we decided on having something, because we feel that we still have our human rights and we can do something, we are still worthy. I feel that maybe if I go and tell my mother, she can, she can sort of collapse. I've tried so many times but failed, because I'm the firstborn of a poor family, whereby, they have a lot of high expectations. But now it's on the process, because really, I won't like her to know from that person. So now it's all arranged, and, she has to go through counseling sessions so that, she accepts it and she understands what it means to be positive. Because, old ladies, what they just know that since I have it, they just now start mourning that I'm dying tomorrow or any time. The first thing I did when I learned that I was positive was to maybe stop working, because I felt that I couldn't start people in the office. Because that time, I didn't know anything about AIDS. So I felt that anybody could, just see it. So I stopped working, and, after some times, when I developed a positive attitude.
But there was a time when he started diarrheaing and he got so weak. He had pains all over the body, legs. He couldn't stand. He couldn't sit, and he died after that. My husband, when he passed away, he told everybody that he died of. The doctors at the private hospital where he was were told everybody that he died of liver cancer. But before he died, he wrote a letter to me, and he advised me to open after 1 month. So when I opened, he had given me all the information.
Actually, I was not just told that he was positive, but we had to go for a test, both of us, whereby we were tested, and the 2 results came out, whereby I was told I was negative and he was positive. While we were waiting for the tests, I was convinced that the 2 of us were positive. Now my greatest fear was about the children, whom I would leave the children with, and all this and that. So when the results came out, I thank God actually, because I was negative and there was a hope for somebody to be left with the children. And I made up my mind that I was also going to care for him. It was quite sad, and actually my hopes have always been that I would always live with my husband. So being told that could be in the near future he's going to leave me, it wasn't something simple. It was quite sad for me. In our organization, we have got two other cases whereby the husband is infected and the wife is not infected, and they're staying together. And recently, just sometimes in June, we got another case where the woman is infected and the husband is negative.
I can say we have a big number of orphans. As I told you earlier, the problem of HIV is a family problem, in the sense that other than for those people who are not married who have got the infection, many other people who are infected are those who are married with their wives. And this has created this problem of orphans. There are many. But at the moment we have partial orphans, whereby we have one of the spouse surviving, but the husband having died. In most cases, it is the situation. But the wife being alive, but still being infected and having 2 or 3 children with her. And the prospects are grim because finally the children will be orphaned. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to find ways of having the children integrated into the society, so that in the event of this eventuality taking place, the children will have some people to take care of them. And we are also trying to raise funds to support these orphans and to support the program of rehabilitating the orphans into their families and to the society.
I have one case whereby the mother and father are dead. And here are 7 children, young, and the firstborn is 17. And nobody wants them. I mean, the relatives, they don't want to be associated with these children. So the children are just left, they live in, kind of slums, and they have no food, they have no anything. So you find that it's very sad. You see that the children are suffering, and they're suffering because of, they are not supposed to be suffering, but because they're extended family, they really don't understand, because they think that these children might infect their children, or pass it to the relatives.
Well, and usually they'll say, my brother or my mother. Of all of the HIV-infected people that I've counseled, not one has said my father. Very few say my mother. The majority of them say my brother. And even
although there are many things which are coming up which are not typically in our culture, but with the AIDS, it has exposed us within a very short time to things that we thought that we would never talk about them. But this is dealing with a question of survival, and we have to prepare our people, we have to educate them, we have to do something about it.
Families should be encouraged to talk freely about sex within them. Then thereafter, it will be even easier for us when we grow up as doctors to talk about sexuality to our clients.
So we were talking about masturbation vis-a-vis the HIV/AIDS situation. Just to go back again, many AIDS programs are trying also to promote condoms. Condoms is no longer seen as a family planning devices, but as preventive, devices against, AIDS and sexually transmitted diseases.
Sianzioka. Can you hear me, Sianzioka, my beloved wife? Can you hear me, Sianzioka, my beloved wife? Oh yes, Sianzioka, my beloved wife, evaporated, and Mukonyo disappeared. Asanteni.
AIDS has only been identified for the last few years, and therefore man has had his sexual problems and his behavior already established. And it's going to take a little time for him to learn to adapt a new behavior. And with some of the cure-alls, they think that they can beat it. You know, man has always felt that he was going to beat death. And as long as he thinks that he can beat death, it will be a little difficult for him to change his behavior. Well, it's going to take some time because for the first time, man's sexual behavior has been held up for public perusal. And until we stop dwelling on how you got the AIDS, no one asks you how you got a cancer or how you got the common cold. And until we stop dwelling on how did you do it and begin to work more on how can we prevent it, then the stigma will eventually go away.
We are reluctant many times to change many of our behaviors. But I do believe that no man can be a prisoner of his own cultures. We cannot be prisoners. We have to change. We are called to change.